Hi everyone, hope you guys are doing well. At the onset of this video, let me start off by sharing that I wasn't doing very well since the last few days, and I hope that each and every one of you takes care of your health in this preparation journey, no matter which exam you're preparing for, because it's only recently that I realized that if you don't have good health, it compromises on each and every aspect of your life, and it's super critical for you as an aspirant especially to take care of your health, because you need to be in the best physical and mental state possible to crack this exam. So today we are going to solve one of the easier passages from CAT 2021 slot 1, which is the Cuttlefish passage. Now, even though this is an easy passage, the reason I picked this up is to explain how should you go about paraphrasing while reading it, and also how to rationalize while looking at the different options. Once you understand these techniques, they are transferable to all sorts of RCs. Now, before we proceed further with this video and solve the RC, I just want to remind each and every CAT as well as OMET aspirant about the combat test, which I had mentioned in the previous video as well. So combat is being conducted by Unacademy, and the last one of the series is gonna get conducted on the coming Sunday, which is 6th of March 2022 at 12 noon. So in case anyone has yet not enrolled, you can click on the description and use the code NONENGINEER10. This test is being recommended because it has questions that are at a far easier level as compared to the CAT exam, and there are only going to be 30 questions to be solved in 60 minutes. In the beginning of your preparation, you don't need to expose yourself to harder questions, and you also need to evaluate where your strengths lie, which of the sections are you comfortable with, so that you can tweak your preparation strategy accordingly and put more efforts on your weaker areas. So I would highly recommend this test. At the same time, Unacademy is also offering 100% scholarship to some of its top performers in this test, but I would highly recommend you to give your last shot, your best shot at this exam on the coming 6th March and see where you stand. Before watching this video, I would definitely recommend you to try out this RC on your own so that you can compare your method with mine. The link to this RC that I'm solving will be in the description. It's by 2IIM, and the reason I'm recommending their website is because I found their explanation to be good enough. Now I'm gonna start off by solving this RC. In an actual scenario, I would have been reading this RC without making any noise, but the reason I'm gonna speak it out loud is so that you can understand which part of the RC am I emphasizing on or which parts am I skipping. So let's start off with the first para. Cuttlefish are full of personality, as some ecologist, Alexander, whatever, found out while researching that something's potential to display self-control. Self-control is thought to be the cornerstone of intelligence. It is an important prerequisite for complex decision-making and planning for the future, says the ecologist. So basically, if I have to summarize this, all I can make through is that cuttlefish have good self-control, and this is being said by a particular ecologist. That's the summary that I can make from this passage. Next is, the ecologist study used the modified version of the marshmallow test. Okay, so I already know what the marshmallow test is. During the original marshmallow test, psychologists, whatever, presented children with age this with one marshmallow. He told them that if they waited for 15 minutes and they didn't read it, they'll get a second marshmallow. Long-term follow-up study showed that the children who waited for the second one had more success in later life. Okay, cuttlefish version of the experiment looked a lot different. Researchers worked with 6 cuttlefish under 9 months and told them to give them seafood instead of sweets, and they showed that cuttlefish favorite food is live grass shrimp, raw prawns, and so shore crab. Okay, so since I can see that shrimp, prawns, and crab, so I'm gonna write on the side I'm gonna write S is greater than P is greater than C. Since the researchers couldn't explain to the cuttlefish that they would need to wait for their shrimp, they trained them to recognize certain shapes that indicated food whenever it became available. Symbols were pasted on transparent drawer so that the cuttlefish could see the food and that was stored inside. One drawer labeled with circle meant immediate. Okay, so circle is equal to immediate. Another drawer labeled with triangle meant delayed. Okay, that had grass shrimp. Okay, I missed that. Circle had prawn, which was the second priority. Then triangle had delayed, which was shrimp, which is the favorite. During a controlled experiment, square meant never. Okay. If their self-control is this was the second para. I have to paraphrase it. So basically, there was a marshmallow test which was conducted for cuttlefish, which was different than the original marshmallow test, which is not very important to be explained right now. The only difference is, or the major difference is, that there are shapes in the new test. Okay, if the self-control is flexible, and I didn't train them to wait in any context, you would expect the cuttlefish to take the immediate reward, even if it's their second preference, obviously. Okay, and that's what they did. That showed the researcher that cuttlefish couldn't reject the prawns if that was the only. Okay, so basically any food that's available, they'll take it. In the experimental trials, cuttlefish didn't jump onto the prawns if the live glass shrimp was labeled in the triangle. Okay, so delayed. Even if the first choice was in the delayed version, they would wait. Okay. Waited for the shrimp to open up. Each time the cuttlefish showed it could wait, searchers tracked another 10 seconds onto the next round before releasing the shrimp. Longest that a cuttlefish waited was for 130 seconds. Okay, so basically what they're saying is that if the favorite item was within the triangle version, then the cuttlefish would wait, and they waited for whatever maximum limit. Got it. Schnell says that the cuttlefish usually sat at the bottom of the tank and looked at the two food items while they were waited, but they would turn away from the king prawn just to distract themselves. In the past studies, humans, chimpanzees, others have also distracted. So this is all about distracting to stick towards the priority number 1 award. Not every species can use self-control, but most of the animals that can share another trait in common: long social lives. Cuttlefish, on the other hand, are solitary creatures that don't form relationships. Okay, we don't know if living in a social group is important for complex cognition to show these abilities unless we have, we test it in the less social species. Okay, so basically it's saying that generally cognition is in case of creatures who are more social, but cuttlefish are not. So that's the summary of the last passage. Before we jump onto the questions, an important point that I want to make here is that I summarized only the paragraph that was in sight. I did not try connecting one para with the other or making sense of the entire passage as a whole. This is super critical, especially in case of difficult passages. Sometimes we just try understanding the meaning of the entire passage while reading it. You don't have to. When you're comprehending, the initial essence is to just note down what is written where, so that when you read the question, you can just come back to it, refer to it, save your time, and arrive at the right decision. Now we are going to look at the questions and try eliminating options by coming up with reasons. Now the reasoning has to be compared then with the detailed solutions to see whether your reasoning was correct with that has been given on the website or in your books or any study material that you're using. That is the most important point. Never ever guess. No matter how much time you need to spend on solving this RC, it is important for you to have a reason behind eliminating every option and arriving at the correct one. So let's start off with the first question now. Okay, so all of the following constitute a point of difference between the original and modified version of the marshmallow test except. Okay, so what's not a difference? The former correlated self-control and future success, while the latter correlated self-control and survival advantages. I don't remember survival advantages being mentioned anywhere. The former was performed over a long time span than the latter. This was there because I remember it said that they had to wait for 15 minutes or so, and in the latter case it was just a couple of minutes. The former had human subjects while the latter had cuttlefish. Yeah, obviously. The former used verbal communication with its subjects while the latter had to develop a symbolic meaning. So C and D are definitely there. Regarding A and B, I don't remember the passage mentioning survival advantages ever, but let's go back to the passage and see if they were there. He told them if they waited for 15 minutes, he would no matter. So in the first para, they definitely say for planning for the future and decision making, but I'm not able to find survival advantages written anywhere. So I think option A should be the correct one. Okay, so the second question says that which of the following, if true, would best complement the passage's finding? Okay, so which one would make the passage's finding stronger or complement it? Okay, cuttlefish wait longer than 100 seconds for the shrimp jaw to open up. Well, they already waited for 130 seconds, nah? So how would it complement? It's already there. Okay, cuttlefish live in big groups that exhibit sociability. This is definitely something that they don't do, but I'm not sure if they would complement the passage's finding. Let's wait. Cuttlefish cannot distinguish between the geometric shapes. But if they can't distinguish, how would they decide? whether to wait or not, then C would definitely not be right. This will in fact contradict the findings. Cuttlefish are equally fond of grass shrimp and raw prawn. If they're equally fond, again, then they would not know which is the preferred option and which one to wait for. So C, D definitely not the correct answers. A definitely not right because it's already there. So it can't be if true. Now B, if cuttlefish live in big groups that exhibit sociability, then the thing that's been mentioned in the last passage could be true. Okay, let's go back to the last passage. I'm really not sure how it had complemented, but not every species can use self-control, but most long. Cuttlefish, on the other hand, do something that's opposite. So we don't know if living in social groups is important. So Jennifer Wong, the psychologist's findings. If in case cuttlefish were social, then the psychologist's findings would get complimented for sure. But did it say the passage or did it say the psychologist? Passage's finding. Like personally, B seems like the only option which is close to being correct. But the only problem I see is that it's the passage's findings as compared to the psychologist's finding. That's the only bit that I'm confused about, but given the other options, B seems to be the correct option. Okay, the third is, in which of the following scenarios would the cuttlefish behavior demonstrate self-control? Okay, if I remember from the passage, they would be the case if they wait for the most preferred option over any other option which is immediately available. Okay, let's read the options now. Asian crabs and prawns are simultaneously released, both of them being the second and third options, while a shrimp labeled as triangle is placed in front of the cuttlefish to be opened after 1 minute. So this is exactly correct, but let's look at the other options. Prawns are released. Okay, option 2 is released while shrimp labeled with square is placed. Square doesn't make any sense. Square is never. Third is shrimp are released while 2 prawn drawers. Okay, 1 is released, but two option labeled with circle and a triangle respectively are placed in front of the cuttlefish. Labeled drawer is opened after 50 seconds. That doesn't make sense. See, the thing is that if you keep option number 2 in a triangle, then why would it wait? It will go for the preferred option which is immediately available. So C doesn't make sense. Raw prawns are released while an Asian shore crab labeled with a triangle is placed in front of the cuttlefish. But again, so crab is the third number option. That being in a triangle doesn't make any sense. So A is clearly the correct answer. No, nothing to even think about here. Okay, so the last question is, which one of the following cannot be inferred from that person's experiment? Okay, intelligence in a species is impossible without sociability. No, cuttlefish are not social, but they are intelligent. Okay, move on to the option B, which is like human children, cuttlefish are capable of self-control. Yes, absolutely. Cuttlefish exert self-control with the help of diversions. Yes, that was an entire para on distractions. Cuttlefish exercise choice when it comes to food. Yes, they exercise choice because they like shrimps more than prawns, more than crabs. So yes, B, C, D are clearly correct. A seems to be the wrong answer here because they are not social, but they're still intelligent. And the reason they're intelligent is because they exhibit self-control, which was mentioned in the first para as a trait of being intelligence. So, got it. So option A has to be correct. And hence we have solved all the 4 questions. So this is what the approach of solving an RC is. Now, whenever you solve a passage during this stage of your preparation, 1, don't time it. 2, spend more time on rationalizing or comprehending the options rather than comprehending the passage. Use the paraphrasing technique just to remember what is written where so that you can quickly refer back to it. But you don't need to remember the entire passage. In fact, it will be difficult to do it with a difficult one. For now, do take care of your health. I think this is going to be the last line of each one of my videos now. But do take care of your health, and in case you have any questions, do let me know in the comments. Bye guys.